Welcome to Glendale's 2018 Memorial Day ceremony. I am Povilaitis, and I will be the Master of Ceremonies for this year's program. This truly is a day when we gather to remember those who have made the ultimate sacrifice so that we may live in freedom. We may not have known these people personally, but we take this time to remember and honor their service, their commitment to an ideal, and their sacrifice to a cause greater than themselves. They truly are our community's heroes. As we stand here today, not only do we take the time to pay tribute to their accomplishments and sacrifice, but to keep our commitment that they shall never be forgotten. If you would now please rise and join Captain Randy McConnell of the United States Army Chaplain of the State of California Military Reserves for the invocation. Randy has been a chaplain in the Military Reserves for 4 years, a member of the Clergy Council for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, Lakewood, for 5 years, a pastor for 20 years. He is a housing specialist for U.S. vets in Long Beach, working with homeless veterans, and a proud parent of an Army major and a former Navy submariner.
Thank you for the privilege of being here. If you would like to bow your heads, you may do so. Everlasting Lord, we come to bow our heads in respect to you and thank you for our great country. And Lord, we come before you today remembering our country's heroes, both dead and alive. We purpose to make this day a day to show honor to the men and women whose sacrifice has helped keep us safe and free. We acknowledge their bravery, and we want to recognize the sacrificial contributions of each and every one. Stir our hearts, Lord, with patriotism and thankfulness as we think about our country's treasures lying in graves before our nation's soil and the soil of lands far away. May we be inspired to be more abundant in our giving as we commemorate their lives of service to others. They gave the ultimate sacrifice, and we respectfully remember them this day. Lord, we want to lift up also the families and friends of those who gave their lives for their country. We ask you to minister to the deep longing of those who grieve. We ask you to bring your peace and supernatural comfort to each one as they recall their former happy times together. As we observe this day, we want again to respectfully honor all men and women who presently serve in our armed forces. May they feel appreciated, and may they be powerfully protected this day and every day. We pray all these things in your mighty name. Amen.
If you would please continue standing for the presentation of colors, the Pledge of Allegiance, and the National Anthem. I'd now like to invite Randall Wolff for the flag salute. Randy served in the United States Navy and was on board the USS Hornet when the Apollo 11 and 12 space capsules were recovered. He is a Glendale resident and member of Elks Lodge 1289. As a reminder, veterans in attendance, in uniform or not, are encouraged to salute the flag using the hand salute as encouraged by the code related to the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red clear, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. I'd like to thank the California Honor Guard for the posting of the colors, and let's also thank Victoria Hilferty for that magnificent rendition of the national anthem. Victoria is both a singer and a vocal coach. Her father served in the United States Army, and her husband is a graduate of the United States Naval Academy at Annapolis. As you can tell, she is passionate about Memorial Day, and we are fortunate to have her with us here today. As we gather today, it seems fitting to reflect on the significance of Memorial Day. As we look back over the years, the sacrifices our men and women in uniform have made are many. Over 116,000 gave their lives in World War I, over 405,000 in World War II, 54,000 in the Korean War, 58,000 in the Vietnam War. After the attack on 9/11, the United States would be pushed into the war on terror. As in the past, brave Americans, our sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, our friends, would be called to serve their country, and many would answer that call, and over 8,000 have made the ultimate sacrifice, all to serve a cause greater than themselves. I would like to take just a moment to recognize families who are here today whose loved ones' names are inscribed on this memorial. I know today that we have the Ravago family and the Barbosa Flores family over in the Gold Star seats. If you would, please take a moment to acknowledge them and their family's sacrifice. I would also like to take a moment to introduce some of the dignitaries that we have with us today. We have Congressman Adam Schiff, representing California's 25th Senate District, Senator Anthony Portantino, representing the 43rd Assembly District, Assemblyperson Laura Friedman, representing the 5th Supervisorial District and Catherine Barger, Jared DeGonia, From the Glendale City Council, we have Mayor Zareh Sinanyan, Councilmember Ara Najarian, Councilmember Vrej Agajanian, Councilmember Paula Devine, and Councilmember Vartan Garpetian. We also have from the Glendale Unified School Board, Board Member Shant Sahakian, Board Member Armina Garpetian, and from the Glendale Community College District Board of Trustees, Board Member Yvette Davis. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Zareh Sinanyan, Mayor of the City of Glendale, to make some introductory comments.
Good morning, dear friends. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful day as we gather to honor and commemorate those men and women who fell while serving in the U.S. military. On this solemn day, we're reminded of their great sacrifice and the ultimate price that they paid so that we don't have to. Those soldiers are compatriots, brothers and sisters, each one a beloved son, daughter, father, mother, a member of a family whose loss has touched the lives of many, fought and died in various wars with the full conviction that they are defending all that we hold dear in this great nation, and that nothing short of self-sacrifice can safeguard our way of life, those rights and privileges that we hold so dear and which make America so great. And as we enjoy those rights and privileges and go on living our daily lives, we must not only remember our heroes, but how our actions and our decisions give meaning to that sacrifice. This accounting and self-reflection must be continuous in nature. It must be daily, for anything short of that would be a betrayal of those high principles for which the sacrifice was made, and a betrayal of the sacrifice itself. Today, we stand, and I speak before you with my firm belief that we must respect the United States Constitution, that we must be law-abiding citizens of our great nation, and we must think of our collective interest and not merely our individual one. And for the sake of our men and women of our armed forces, we must question every war or military action that our political leadership ever considers involving our country in, for we may only put the men and women of our armed forces in harm's way only and only when it is absolutely necessary to safeguard our fundamental freedoms and rights. As we stand here today, the significance of Memorial Day weighs heavily on me. I pray that I'm reminded of it every day, and that we as a society are worthy of this immense sacrifice made. In the end, I'd like to thank the Glendale Veterans Coalition for organizing this morning's event. May God bless all of you, and God bless America.
I'd now like to invite Congressman Adam Schiff to the podium.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, Gold Star families, veterans, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to come and join you and pay tribute to those who have paid the ultimate price for defending our freedom. I had the opportunity about 6 weeks ago to once again visit our troops in Afghanistan and see firsthand their dedication and courage and bravery, and to be reminded once again just how young these service members are, so many of them. I had lunch with 2 California service members, 2 soldiers who joined the service right out of high school. And as I sat and talked with them, I tried to imagine my father at that age, who also joined the service right out of high school, and what that calls upon of our young people to face such difficulty and danger at such a young age. And I think about them and I worry about them as we talked about their future plans and whether they were going to make a career out of the service, what their education plans were, and whether they were going to go to school on the GI Bill. They have their whole lives in front of them. Now, we have far less troops in Afghanistan than we had at one point. We have now between 10 to 20,000 troops there. At one point, we had over 100,000. But we are exposing them to greater risk. We are embedding them closer to the fight, even while they are in a train and assist mission. The rules of combat also expose them to greater risk. And not a year goes by, and sometimes not a month goes by, where we don't have casualties. And so we think about these wonderful and brave young people who are serving our country. We realize, too, that these two that I had lunch with were and are no older than the sons and daughters of some of our Gold Star families who went to serve their country with their whole futures ahead of them and paid such an awful price. So we think of them, we pray for them, we recognize all that have served and died for their country, and how blessed we are as a nation to have such incredible and committed and courageous people. So please hold them in your hearts, send them your prayers, and we thank God for their service. Thank you.
It's an honor just to be here today. My father fought in World War II, but I was not blessed with the honor of serving our country the way so many of you here and our Gold Star families who have paid the ultimate price. It is just so appropriate for Glendale and communities throughout the foothills to come together and recognize and commemorate the fallen heroes that have bravely given their lives so we can have the quality of life we have here in Glendale. It's estimated that 1.5 million Americans have paid the ultimate sacrifice during all of our conflicts. Recently, I had the honor of going to Korea in March, and I went to the Korean Memorial in Seoul, and I went to the UN cemetery in Busan. And it was extremely powerful and touching to see, as you've done with Glendale residents, place the names of fallen Americans, but to see the thousands of Californians in Korea who paid the ultimate price, thousands of Californians who went off to war and didn't come back. And to think that there are still 7,000 unaccounted for Americans from the Korean War conflict. It's just a powerful statement to the family sacrifice that we celebrate and honor today. In addition, 103,000 Americans were wounded in the Korean War. That's 103,000 families who had someone come home not the same way they left. And I think we as a society have to remember and respect the veterans who have come home and make sure that they have the services that they need. As you know, my family was touched by depression and suicide, and to think that every day we lose a veteran to mental health issues because we don't step up and respect and embrace those who come back. And so Thomas Jefferson once said that we are not a government of the majority, we are a government of the majority who show up and participate. Think about that. Think about all of us who don't go to war, who don't participate in making our country what it should be on a daily basis, and then think about the select few who even pay the ultimate sacrifice, the select of the select who go off to fight for the freedoms that we hold dear, and many of those who don't come back. So for me, it's an honor to represent this wonderful community, to see it embrace veterans, to see it respect the memories of fallen heroes, men and women who have lost their lives so we can be here today. So God bless and thank you for this program.
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to see so many people turning out today to honor the sacrifice that our veterans, our fallen veterans made. And I especially want to thank the Gold Star families for coming to join us today. You honor us with your presence. Thank you for allowing us to mourn with you today. I think this year, as I do every year on Memorial Day, how we can best pay tribute and to really understand and to signify the gravity of this day, because this is one of the most, I believe, hallowed days that we have in America every year. And I especially want to acknowledge the way that Glendale and many other of our local communities recognizes this day by reading the names of the city's fallen heroes. Because every one of those names represents a life lost, represents a void in a family, represents grieving parents, children left without a parent. And we, on this day, have to remember each and every one of them as best we can, and reading the names is our way of doing that. But going beyond that, we have to truly understand the sacrifice, make sure that not only their names are remembered, but the reason why they died is remembered. We have got to always strive to teach our children history, to teach them about the wars, why we fought the wars, what we sought to bring to the world by fighting those wars. Because if we don't do that, we diminish the memories and the sacrifice that people made. There were some shocking reports this year about the lack of knowledge of young people about World War II, which was a fairly recent war in many living people's memory. But the number of millennials who don't even know what Auschwitz was, the statistic was 1/5 of millennials don't know that word. 1/5 of young Americans don't know why we fought World War II. 40% of Americans don't know what Auschwitz was. That's shocking. We also have to make sure that we support our living veterans, and we sometimes fail at that as a nation, and I believe all of us have to strive to do that better, because many of our fallen heroes sacrificed their lives to save their comrades. We have to do the same thing with those comrades when they come home and make sure that they are supported, that they have a roof over their heads, that they have a career, that their families are supported. We need to make sure that every day we live the ideals that people fought for mercy, for truth, for justice, for freedom. We need to live that in our actions. And lastly, I'll just say that I'm sure that on the battlefield, party doesn't matter. Sometimes we focus a lot in this nation on things that divide us. I hope that today we can focus on the things that unite us, the things that make all of us Americans and that bring us all closer. That's what I hope for us this day and hope for us going forward. And again, thank you all so much for coming out today. It's really an honor to be able to represent the 43rd Assembly District. And God bless all of you. Thanks.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plains. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for patriot dreams that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
That was a beautiful rendition. Let's give Victoria one more round of applause. As we remember those who gave their lives so that we may live in freedom, it also seems appropriate to remember those who never came home. I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Colonel David Worley, United States Air Force retired, to present the POW MIA ceremony. Lieutenant Worley served for over 27 years in the United States Air Force. He received his commission in 1983 after completing officer candidate school and having served 8 years as an enlisted air traffic controller. Upon being commissioned, he served as an air battle manager, and after retirement, as many of us know him, he became the senior aerospace instructor at Crescenta Valley High School. Lieutenant Worley.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the POW MIA table to my left, your right. At this time, we ask that you remain seated yet silent as I perform the POW MIA table ceremony. This ceremony is rich with military tradition as we honor those men and women of the armed forces who, in the defense of this country and that of the free world, are unaccounted for and are listed as prisoners of war or missing in action. We are specifically honoring the sacrifices of literally hundreds and thousands of men and women since the days of the American Revolution. Some died from disease and starvation. Some perished in death marches. Some were tortured, some were lost, gone from their families forever. All were deprived of their liberties so that you may enjoy yours. At all military functions where meals are served, these heroes are always honored and remembered. This table is set for our prisoners of war and those missing in action from all wars. They are not with us today. The table is round to show that our concern for them is never ending. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to answer their country's call to arms so that their children can remain free. The 5 hats represent each branch of our armed forces. Let us remember all the men and women prisoners of war who are too often forgotten. We must never forget them. The lone candle symbolizes the frailty of a prisoner alone, trying to stand up against his oppressors. The yellow candle and the yellow ribbon on the candle reminds us of those who will not be coming home. The single red rose reminds us of the families and friends who keep the faith and await their return. The yellow ribbon on the rose represents the love of our country which inspired these warriors to answer the nation's call. The black napkins represent the emptiness these warriors have left in the hearts of their family and friends. A slice of lemon is on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate if we do not bring them home. There is salt on the plate, symbolic of the family's tears as they wait and remember. The glass is inverted, reminding us that many of our comrades cannot be with us for this morning's ceremony, maybe tomorrow, if we remember. The faded picture on the table is a reminder that they are missed very much and they are remembered by our families. The empty tilted chair depicts an unknown face, not representing any specific soldier, sailor, airman, marine, or Coast Guardsman, but all are here with us this morning. The POW flag is posted to mourn the fact that many will not return to our shores and to pay homage to their passing. As you look upon this empty table, do not remember ghosts from the past, but remember our comrades. Remember those who we depended on in battle. They depend on us to bring them home. They are the ones we love, who love life and liberty as we do. They will remember what we do. Please honor and remember them.
Thank you, Colonel Worley. As is our tradition here in Glendale, and to honor those that have fallen so that we all may live in freedom, we will now have the laying of the roses as presented by the Glendale Police Department Explorers. Let us honor those who have fallen in World War I. Let us honor the memory of those from World War II. In memory of those from the Korean War. in memory of those from the Vietnam War. And in memory of those in the War on Terror. Could we please give our police explorers a hand? They do such a fine job every year. It is now my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Brigadier General Ruth A. Wong. General Wong completed a distinguished career in the United States Air Force in September 2001, retiring as a Brigadier General. She served as an assistant to the Air Force Surgeon General and also as an aeromedical evacuation flight commander in the Persian Gulf during Desert Shield and Desert Storm. She is a recipient of the Distinguished Service Medal, Legion of Merit, Meritorious Service Medal, and the Kuwait Liberation Medal. General Wong has a master's degree in public health from the University of California, Los Angeles, and a bachelor's degree from Occidental College. She currently serves the residents of Los Angeles County as the director of the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, a post that she has held since 2013. It is now my pleasure to introduce and invite General Ruth A. Wong to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say this is an amazing Memorial Day celebration. And I want to thank the City of Glendale for all the detail that they did to put this together. Let's give them a round of applause. Good morning, Gold Star families, Mr. Mayor, service members, fellow veterans, families, and the Memorial Day committee members. Special thanks goes to my good friend, Carvel Gay, for inviting me to speak here today. Carvel spent a number of years on the Los Angeles County Board of County Veterans Service Committee, serving as a veteran advisor to the Board of Supervisors and a special friend to my department, Military and Veterans Affairs. Carvel had a distinguished career in the U.S. Army and attributes his success to his wife, Pat, and their children. As we gather here today to pay respect to the men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice in our country, it is also time to reflect and pay tribute to the military and veterans, as well as their families, who continue to serve our communities today. It is time to share stories about our military experiences with one another, and mostly to pass down the history of our loved ones who haven't served. Preserve our history. Some veterans are reluctant to talk about their experiences because they feel people don't want to hear about them, what they did in the military. But the opposite is true. People are interested and want to know what it's like to serve. Sometimes it starts with a question, and the conversation unfolds from there. With less than 1% of our U.S. population serving in the armed forces, it is our mission to preserve our military history and pass it down to the next generation. To begin the conversation, I would like to share with you some amazing stories that I hear daily in my role as the department director. These stories reflect what the County of Los Angeles does to help veterans and their families obtain the benefits and services earned by virtue of the men and women serving their country. With more than 300,000 veterans in Los Angeles County, we are honored to serve those who have served. Let me begin with the story of Tony. Tony joined the Army and found a home. He also found love. He got married and started a family. Soon he was assigned a long way from his home in Los Angeles. After a few months, his young daughter unfortunately became ill and ultimately passed away. The family returned to Los Angeles to bury their daughter. In his grief, Tony asked for a leave, but found that it wasn't granted for some reason, and he was listed as AWOL, absence without leave. His life spiraled out of control. He became depressed. Then he began to self-medicate. He was released from the Army with an other than honorable discharge. We call that bad paper. His marriage fell apart, and Tony found himself living on the streets. Eventually, he found himself in the county jail. He wanted to turn his life around. He did. He found help to secure housing and then worked with one of our veteran service officers to upgrade his discharge. The biggest change in his life was upgrading his bad discharge, making him eligible for VA benefits and services, and opening up a whole new life for himself. Many veterans helped Tony. It wasn't about who he had been, but who he was now that mattered. Tony is now a productive, employed member of society and is grateful for the help that he received. The second story I have is about Mary. Mary was referred to us from the LGBT Center in Hollywood. Mary served in the U.S. Army Reserve and was discharged and found herself chronically homeless. Initially, Mary was told that she did not qualify for VA benefits because she was a reservist. She had no home, she had no funds to sustain herself. However, our service officer found that Mary did qualify for a service-connected disability incurred during her basic training. Again, many veteran organizations helped Mary. Today, she has a home, and she is continuing to get help from our Department of Mental Health. Her life has changed for the better. She visits us regularly to let us know how grateful she is for the help that she's received. Recently, Mr. Smith contacted us from prison. After 30 years, he was looking forward to his release. At the same time, he was anxious about how he was going to reintegrate back into his community. Smith sent us a letter from state prison asking us to help. We responded with information about resources available for soon-to-be-released veterans. Mr. Smith served in the U.S. Marine Corps in Vietnam. Through tears, he said, "When I received your letter in prison, it gave me hope and helped me overcome the adjustment of the life on the outside. He was grateful. Every day, 21 veterans commit suicide throughout our country. Jim, an Army veteran who had no will to live, was seen by one of our service officers sitting on a curb just outside our office. With the help of our Department of Mental Health and several other veteran organizations, we prevented this veteran from becoming another suicide statistic. He continues to use the Long Beach VA and receives 50% compensation for a service-connected disability. And finally, last week I received a call from Donna, the spouse of a Vietnam veteran. Her husband committed suicide last year. Through her tears, we talked about how her husband never admitted to having depression. He suffered in silence. I referred Donna to a grief counselor as the first anniversary of her husband's death is in this June. Listening is therapy for those who need comfort. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of stories like this across the country. Today is the day that we remember the sacrifices of those who lost their life. But it is also a time to reflect on those veterans that need our help. So what can you do to help? Veterans, take time to tell your story to a loved one. For others, visit a veteran. Put flowers on a grave. Say a silent prayer. Or volunteer with a veterans organization. All of these gestures will make a better day for a veteran and make you feel better for having given the time to care and listen. Are you ready to take the pledge to help a veteran? Are you ready to take the pledge to help a veteran? And lastly, there is a nationwide effort by the Department of Defense to formally recognize and honor those individuals who serve on active duty in the U.S. Armed Forces at any time from November 1955 to May 1975. The Department of Veterans Affairs estimates that today there are about 7 million Vietnam veterans and 9 million families of those who served at home and abroad at this time frame. I would now like to call up to the front of the dais a Vietnam-era veteran who served in the United States Army and today continues to serve his community as a military veteran. Carvel Gay served our country with courage and honor, but never received a proper welcome home. Albeit far overdue, we want to make this right. Carvel, would you please come up to the dais? With the Vietnam War veteran pin to thank him for his service to our country and to welcome him home. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a Vietnam veteran, I ask that you rise and be recognized, and as we come together as a community to say, welcome home. I would like to pin you after this ceremony with the Vietnam era pin. Finally, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends, said eloquently by Martin Luther King Jr. Another one. More than 100 years later, Memorial Day remains one of America's most cherished patriotic observances. The spirit of this day has not changed. It remains a day to honor those who died defending our freedom and democracy, said by former Congressman Doc Hastings. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here today. It is an honor.
While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful to a land so fair, as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you, General Wong, for the words honoring our fallen and for the services that you provide to those that have served our country. And also thank you, Victoria, for that rendition. Very, very beautiful. Let's give them both one round of applause. America is indeed a wonderful country, and we do much to honor those that gave their lives to make it the way it is today. So enjoy this day, and please remember to spend a little bit of time remembering those who gave all so that we can live in freedom, and to celebrate their lives and their sacrifices. I would like to take just a few minutes to say thank you to some of the people and the organizations who make this possible. To the Patriotism Committee of the Glendale Veterans Coalition for putting the event together. Would you please stand? To all of the organizations that donated wreaths that make the backdrop look so wonderful for what we're doing here today. They include the Armenian National Committee of America, the Glendale Homeowners Coordinating Council, the Glendale Board of Realtors, the Glendale City Employees Association, Glendale Elks Lodge 1289, the Glendale Kiwanis, the Glendale Management Association, the Glendale Police Officers Association, Glendale Sunrise Rotary, Jewel City Kiwanis, and the Verdugo Woodlands West Homeowners Association. I'd also like to thank Adam Schiff for the flag that will fly over the monument for the next year. If you give them all a round of applause. As you leave this place, I encourage you to make the name of somebody on one of these walls personal to you. They were our neighbors, they were our friends. They were young members of our community who made the supreme sacrifice, and there are many of them, too many of them. There are 6 names from World War I, 172 from World War II, 15 from the Korean War, 63 from the Vietnam War, and 10 from the War on Terror. Each and every one of those members of our community answered the call of their country, and today we live under the blanket of freedom that they provided. I'd like to thank all of you for taking a little time out of your day to remember all of these men and women that made the ultimate sacrifice, and keeping our collective pledge that they will be remembered, honored, and never forgotten. And if you have not had a moment to take a look or a chance to see it, a battle cross unveiled at last year's ceremony has been placed to the right of the monument as a tribute to everyone who gave all in the service of their country. After the ceremony concludes, we'd like to invite you to stop by some of our veteran service booths in the parking lot to my right for information on the subjects we talked about today. The Emblem Club of the Glendale Elks Lodge will also be serving coffee and donuts. And if you get a moment later, take a little time to stop by Forest Lawn Glendale to see their Field of Honor display, a field of United States flags honoring our fallen heroes. Now, if you would please stand while Chaplain McConnell leads us in the benediction. After the benediction, if you would please remain standing for the playing of taps, which will formally conclude our ceremony. Again, thank you so much for coming today. Chaplain McConnell.
It's hard not to say, wow, how we've been blessed. Let's have a benediction. May the truth that makes us free, the hope that never dies, and the love that casts out fear lead us forward together till the day spring breaks and the shadows flee away. The peace of God that passes all understanding, that peace which the world can neither give nor take away, abide with you to bless you this day and forevermore. Amen.